From jaw-dropping cheating revelations that left viewers stunned, to controlling actions that reduced her partner to a childlike role. This is the unbelievable rise and fall of Cara Bass, a woman who went from calling herself a carefree party girl to becoming one of the most polarizing personalities in 90-Day Fiancé history. What began as a tequila-soaked fling in the Dominican Republic slowly unraveled into a disturbing story of manipulation, betrayal, and the collapse of what fans once believed was a dream marriage. Cara's descent didn't happen overnight. What appeared to be a harmless vacation romance was actually the beginning of a pattern of behavior that would ultimately destroy everything in its path. Cara Bass's story begins in the Dominican Republic, where she traveled for a work assignment in 2020. At just 27, she openly described herself as the ultimate party girl, someone who had spent years hopping between countries, embracing chaos and steering clear of long-term commitment. Her identity revolved around being reckless, independent, and emotionally unavailable. Everything shifted when she noticed Guillermo Roher, a 21-year-old Venezuelan waiter working at a nearby restaurant. When a coworker commented that Guillermo looked extremely young, Cara's response raised immediate red flags. She called him a beautiful young boy and made a point of clarifying that he was legally an adult. She proudly embraced the label of cougar, showing zero hesitation about pursuing someone 6 years younger who was clearly vulnerable as an immigrant trying to survive. What began as light flirting quickly turned into a full-blown relationship. Cara became infatuated with Guillermo's appearance and youthful energy. Within months, her job placement allowed her to relocate to the Dominican Republic, where Guillermo practically moved in and spent most nights at her home. They even adopted a dog together, Cheeky Mama, presenting the image of a picture-perfect couple building a tropical life together. After 8 months of what looked like relationship bliss, Guillermo proposed during a scenic hike. The same woman who once claimed she never took love seriously was now engaged to a much younger man in a foreign country. The issue wasn't simply the age difference, it was Cara's attitude toward it. She repeatedly emphasized the imbalance, joking about being his sugar mama and referring to Guillermo as her sugar baby. This wasn't playful humor. It exposed how she viewed the relationship, not as equals, but as someone owning the upper hand. The circumstances made the situation even more unsettling. Guillermo was a young immigrant from Venezuela, working long hours as a waiter just to survive. He was isolated, financially insecure, and far from home. Cara, on the other hand, was an American with stability, money, and access to opportunity. The imbalance of power was undeniable, and disturbingly, Cara appeared to enjoy it. That desire for control became impossible to ignore once the cameras started rolling. When Guillermo moved to Virginia, Cara's carefully curated image completely unraveled. Viewers watched as she consistently talked down to her husband, stripping him of independence at every turn. She didn't treat Guillermo like a capable adult. She treated him like a child who needed constant correction and permission. One of the most shocking moments came when Guillermo expressed interest in buying a laptop. This wasn't extravagant. He wanted a basic tool to help him build a future in the US. Cara immediately shut him down, insisting they couldn't afford it and that he didn't need one. At the same time, she had no issue spending money on herself without consulting him. She made it clear that every important decision had to go through her. Cara cast herself as the mature authority figure while painting Guillermo as irresponsible and incapable of managing his own life. Equally disturbing was the way Cara spoke about Guillermo. She frequently referred to him as a toddler, even in front of his own family. When his brother voiced concerns about their age difference, Cara didn't defend their bond as a balanced partnership. Instead, she doubled down, joking about being a sugar mommy and laughing about people thinking she wanted a toddler. These weren't harmless jokes. They were calculated comments meant to reinforce a hierarchy. By constantly highlighting his youth, Cara justified her dominance and control. If Guillermo was just a kid, then she could rationalize making every decision for him. The most troubling part was that Guillermo repeatedly asked her to stop. He made it clear the comments embarrassed and hurt him, yet Cara refused to listen. When someone continues behavior after being told it's painful, it crosses into emotional abuse. Cara's actions showed that maintaining control mattered more to her than respecting her husband's feelings. But this controlling behavior was only the surface. Much darker truths about Cara's past were waiting to be exposed. As Cara tightened her grip on Guillermo, revelations about her history began to emerge. During their season, it came out that Cara had cheated in previous relationships, something she had deliberately minimized or concealed. It revealed a consistent pattern of dishonesty and a complete disregard for commitment. What shocked viewers wasn't just the cheating itself, but Cara's reaction when confronted. She showed little remorse, brushing it off as youthful mistakes. Instead of taking accountability, she framed her infidelity as a normal phase of growing up, ignoring the damage it caused to those who trusted her. When Guillermo finally learned the truth, he was understandably shaken. This was a woman who demanded total loyalty from him, yet had a proven track record of betrayal. The hypocrisy was undeniable, but Cara seemed confused as to why anyone would question her. Even more disturbing was when she revealed this information. Guillermo found out only days before their wedding, leaving him no real time to process or reconsider his future. This wasn't coincidence. By waiting until the last possible moment, Cara ensured he was trapped by pressure, expectations, and circumstance. But Cara's history of cheating paled in comparison to the psychological games she would later play as a wife and mother. One of the strangest and most revealing moments of Cara's time on television was her so-called high school reunion, an event fans quickly realized was entirely fabricated. This incident perfectly highlighted Cara's comfort with creating fake scenarios and manipulating reality to benefit herself, regardless of the emotional damage it caused to others. The reunion raised red flags immediately. Only 8 people attended what was claimed to be a 10-year high school reunion, and they were awkwardly seated in a school cafeteria, drinking like teenagers. The biggest giveaway, however, was the presence of Cara's ex-boyfriend, Chris, someone who hadn't even graduated with her class. There was absolutely no logical reason for him to be there, unless the entire gathering had been planned with a hidden agenda. That agenda became obvious when Chris began openly discussing intimate details of his past relationship with Cara, including their sexual history, right in front of Guillermo. This wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate attempt to provoke jealousy and discomfort. As her ex embarrassed Guillermo on national television, Cara sat back smiling, fully complicit in the humiliation of her own husband. Reddit users quickly uncovered the truth behind the staged reunion, revealing that TLC had posted casting calls just days before filming, asking people to pose as Cara's former classmates. While the network had staged scenes before, rarely had it been done so blatantly, or with such disregard for someone's dignity. What made this moment especially disturbing was what it revealed about Cara's priorities. She was willing to publicly degrade her husband if it meant creating dramatic television. Protecting Guillermo's feelings or their marriage clearly came second to securing an entertaining storyline. To Cara, her partner wasn't a person, he was a prop. But the fake reunion was only the start of Cara's spiral into extreme narcissism and self-interest. As married life settled in, Cara's true nature became impossible to ignore. She created a long list of rules and expectations that Guillermo was expected to follow, while granting herself complete freedom to act however she pleased. This double standard would become the foundation of their marriage, and the reason it eventually collapsed. The clearest example came when Guillermo shared his dream of becoming a pilot. He had done the research, understood the financial commitment, and was prepared to work steadily toward the goal. The training would cost roughly $60,000, but it offered a realistic career path and long-term stability. Cara shut it down instantly, calling the idea unrealistic and claiming they couldn't afford it. At the very same time, Cara was pouring money into her own dream of becoming a bachata singer. She spent freely on studio sessions, music videos, and promotion, despite having no proven success or viable plan. When Guillermo pointed out the obvious contradiction, Cara became defensive, unable to acknowledge her hypocrisy. Her ambitions were framed as necessary investments, while his were dismissed as reckless fantasies. This imbalance seeped into every part of their lives. Whenever Guillermo wanted to see friends or enjoy personal interests, Cara would guilt him using finances or parenting responsibilities. Yet when she traveled to Italy for music projects or stayed out networking until 4 in the mid-morning, those actions were suddenly justified as essential. The long-term damage was devastating. Guillermo slowly absorbed the message that his goals mattered less than Cara's. He began to accept limited freedom as a privilege rather than a right, losing his sense of equality within the marriage. But Cara's selfishness didn't stop there. It escalated into full abandonment of her responsibilities. In 2024, Cara made a choice that exposed just how little regard she had for her marriage. She appeared in a music video alongside the infamous 90-Day Fiancé Bad Boys, Josh Weinstein, Jamal Menzies, and Rob Warren, featuring scenes so inappropriate that even longtime fans were stunned. The video showed Cara dancing suggestively with Josh, holding hands with Jamal, and openly flirting with Rob. These weren't innocent performances or professional gestures. They were intentionally provocative moments designed to attract attention. Her chemistry with Josh stood out in particular, crossing boundaries no married woman with a young child should ignore. What made this even worse was Cara's awareness of Guillermo's insecurities. She knew his trust issues stemmed from her past cheating. She knew he struggled with her late-night outings and constant interactions with men in the industry. Yet she moved forward anyway, showing complete disregard for his emotions and their vows. Reddit users were quick to call out the behavior. Many stated that no spouse would be comfortable with this, especially with a baby at home. One commenter noted that Cara behaved like a teenager, chasing attention, using networking as an excuse to cross boundaries. Another pointed out that the timing made it even crueler. While Cara filmed intimate scenes for her vanity music project, Guillermo was at home caring for their son, Nicholas. Cara portrayed herself as the ambitious provider, while abandoning her role as a present wife and mother. Yet the music video was only a symptom of a deeper emotional withdrawal. It became obvious that Cara had emotionally checked out of her family, choosing validation and fame over her husband and child. She spent more time bonding with strangers than nurturing her own home. Her priorities had become so distorted that her family felt like obstacles rather than blessings. The most tragic consequence was the impact on young Nicholas. While Cara stayed out until 4 in the morning or filmed suggestive content, Guillermo carried the weight of parenting alone. She had effectively forced him into the role of a single father. Reddit users increasingly pointed out that networking had become a convenient excuse, and that no responsible parent should be absent all night when they have a baby waiting at home. Fans slowly began noticing unsettling patterns in Cara's social media activity. Her pages were flooded with posts about her music ambitions, non-stop travel, and collaborations with other men. Yet mentions of her husband or son were almost non-existent. When she did feature them, it felt awkward and staged, like an obligation rather than genuine affection. Her Instagram no longer reflected a family life. It had become a monument to her own self-importance. That emotional distance became impossible to ignore during Nicholas's second birthday celebration. In the video Cara shared, she and Guillermo stood apart, with Guillermo looking uncomfortable, almost like an outsider at his own child's party. Cara's caption referred to Nicholas as "my baby" instead of "our baby," a subtle but telling detail that highlighted the growing divide in their family. Even in a moment meant to be joyful, the tension between them was painfully obvious. What made the situation even more heartbreaking was how avoidable it all was. Cara already had everything she claimed to want: a devoted husband, a healthy child, and a stable life in America. Instead of valuing that, she discarded it all for temporary validation from an industry that would never truly embrace her average talent or inflated self-image. By early 2025, the damage she had caused finally reached a breaking point. Years of constant arguments, broken trust, emotional neglect, and her refusal to put her family first had turned the marriage into something even Cara could no longer pretend was functional. The tequila-fueled fairy tale that began in the Dominican Republic was collapsing under the weight of her own selfish choices. Reports soon surfaced that Cara and Guillermo were sleeping in separate bedrooms and barely communicating. The separation became increasingly obvious online, as Cara's posts centered entirely on herself and Nicholas, with Guillermo appearing rarely, and only when their son was present. The clearest signal came from their Instagram activity. Cara and Guillermo unfollowed each other completely, and neither had any recent photos together. This wasn't just distance, it was total erasure. The digital separation came first, but the real one followed soon after. Their divorce was confirmed in July 2025, shortly after news broke that Cara had been unfaithful. What made it even worse was that Cara had initially accused Guillermo of cheating, all while secretly being the one who was unfaithful herself. Anytime Guillermo questioned her behavior, she twisted the narrative, accusing him of mistrust and insisting she would never do something like that. Later fan encounters confirmed everything. People who ran into Cara in public claimed she openly acknowledged the breakup. One restaurant worker even reported that Cara admitted she and Guillermo had been separated for months. The woman who once proudly called herself a sugar mama was now a single mother, exposed as someone who manipulated and betrayed the very man she had controlled for years. Yet even after her marriage completely fell apart, Cara refused to accept responsibility or reflect on her actions. Today, Cara Bass stands as a cautionary example of how narcissism, manipulation, and an obsession with fame can destroy everything meaningful in a person's life. Her transformation from carefree party girl to single mother wasn't tragic coincidence. It was self-inflicted, the predictable outcome of consistently placing ego above love, family, and accountability. She embodies the worst elements of modern reality TV and social media obsession. What makes Cara's story truly disturbing isn't just the harm she caused others, but her complete refusal to learn from it. Even as her marriage disintegrated, she painted herself as the victim, blaming Guillermo for not supporting her dreams, blaming fans for not appreciating her art, and blaming everyone except the one person responsible, her lack of self-awareness, borders on something far deeper and more concerning. Cara's legacy serves as a warning about the consequences of unchecked narcissism and the importance of respect, commitment, and empathy in relationships. By viewing people as tools for personal gain, she ensured the destruction of everything she once claimed to cherish. The party girl, who believed she could have it all, is left with nothing but regret, and a cautionary tale that will follow her indefinitely. In the end, Cara Bass didn't get the American dream she imagined. She got something far more fitting, a nightmare entirely of her own making.